Hey guys, Ricky over here with Rolly. This one right here, I will kind of start the video off with saying that it's probably the more complicated of the setups, but it's something that I find extremely effective, worth drilling, because I find myself here quite a bit. And it's kind of like one of those setups that catch people by surprise, which of course, increases your chances sometimes of actually getting to the part where you can finish. So we are gonna start kind of talking about just some ideas here, because it's very common in side control that people learn to isolate this frame, because of course this frame is a problem. It's a problem because he can recover guard. It's a problem because I can't flatten him out. He can get his back off the ground. So a lot of times it happens, and there's many ways to do this, but we end up slicing over that bottom frame. So if we slice over it, now, as long as we are properly positioned, it's hard for him to take that arm out. And we have the ability, if I move a little bit, to switch the hook. So if I do kind of like a windshield wipe, like here. So I can take my bottom leg, or I can have my top leg. And they both kind of have opportunities, depending on what he's doing with his other arm to defend. For this one, I'm gonna be having my partner just hooking onto me, because there's sometimes that they're framing, which kind of calls for a whole nother ballpark, but here they're gonna stay hooking on. So if we switch here, and I slice over his bicep, I'm hugging him pretty much. I'm gonna switch to my right hook so that I have a free leg to step over his head, right? But before, over here, what happens is that once I get this position, people will start to pick you up here to kind of set up opportunities for themselves, whether it's the Kimura, whether it's the armbar, but they both require you to step over the head, right? So again, without a frame, it's possible to step over the head. So from here, sometimes they switch and they start looking for Kimura setups. Sometimes they just kind of go and take the armbar on the other side. And those kind of, after a while, you get caught in it, and then you kind of develop these ways to defend it. So it happens sometimes that they actually use their head. So I'm here, I picked up their back off the ground, and he uses his head to stop me from stepping over, right? I don't want to try to step over too much, because if I try to step over too much, I take weight off of him and he can come up on his elbow, and this can become a problem. So I just try to trace his head. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I have an alternative. So I straighten my leg now. So this space that he creates under his leg, I kind of almost shelf it with my leg. So now from here, I can bring my hand behind me, and then I'm gonna be sitting on my hip here. It's important that you do that correctly so you don't land on your ankle wrong and kind of hurt yourself. But now that I'm sitting on my hip, I'm keeping this hook alive because I don't want him to get away from me. And I can start laying down on my shoulder here and locking this triangle. So this leg should be able to come up high, and then I should be able to lock here. And it's actually pretty common that the person tries to come up to their knees here. But if he comes up to his knees, he's finding himself in quite a predicament. This is not a fun place to be. There's his arm that's compromised here. Even if he pulls his arm out, there's the triangle setups and everything that we can start setting up. So, I'll take it, the regular triangle. But once we're here, a lot of times when they feel the threat, even before I close my triangle, sometimes I close it, sometimes I don't, but this hook really is what matters, because if he tries to put his back to the ground, he's connected to my body. That's a hard pull, but I never like to resist his pull. I go with his energy pretty much. So when I'm hooked here, if I feel him trying to put his back to the floor, I come up to my elbow right here. And now I can even come up to my hand, and this is gonna allow me to make an adjustment. So I'm going to kind of move my hips, and I'm gonna go on both my hips. So right now I'm leaning on my left side, and I'm going to shimmy pretty much, sitting behind him, and I'm gonna switch the hook. So if we can move here a little bit, I'm gonna switch the hook here so that I can create a base structure with my right hand here, and now my left foot and my right hand can help me make my other adjustment and falling back into my elbow. And now I can lock the triangle, and we find ourselves back in the reverse triangle. So this is kind of a very unorthodox way to set it up, but after doing it over and over and over again, it's a nice way to set it up because it catches people by surprise but there are a lot of tiny little details in it that if you kind of mess up, you might lose it. But you know, the more you try, the more you kind of tweak those details. So, you know, from here, I can start looking to take it. I can start looking for my arm lock. And you know, there's never, you should never forget that there is a triangle here. I do notice that when people grab their hands here, the way that they defend, a lot of times they get very strong by bringing their elbows into them. So if he is so strong that I can't even start looking to attack the arm, a lot of times I just put my weight on my hand, and it's not, it is a choke, but I kind of just try to put all the weight of my leg on his chest. So I lift up my hip and I put weight downward, and that can cause him to tap. But I will tell you that most of the time, he's gonna use his feet to push right back at you. So when you try to go for these triangles like this and he pushes into you, this is when it's nice to attack the arm locks, because now he's going in the direction I need to attack his arms, right? So we can always play that back and forth like we do in most situations in jiu-jitsu. We give ourselves multiple options. So that was a cool little setup for reverse triangle. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys soon.